It looks like, Lester, you're sideways to me. Are we sideways to you?
Yes, you're sideways,
there we
but
are.
I'm gonna.
Are you in
correct
the?
it.
Is that the VO booth for the nightly news? Is that the? What is
Wow.
that?
This is my home office, which became a VO booth and a TV studio. I do my whole work existence is in this room.
That's amazing. You got quite a tech setup there. With the, I mean, look at his compared to ours. He's got real stuff.
Well, they came in. The guys came in here on short notice. When COVID was really suddenly taking off, and the mandate was get everybody wired up at home. So they came in here and did an amazing job.
Incredible.
I'm almost afraid to show it to you, but it's that monitor behind me is my background that I sit in front of. It looks just like I'm in the studio.
Wow.
But yeah, it works.
Hey, why go back to the NBC studios? Like, let's just do the nightly news from here. Save the company some money.
Because I'm gaining weight. That's one reason. I mean, literally a half hour ago, I looked at my watch. Man, can I make it to Shake Shack and back? And I did. And I downed the double burger with fries.
Good man. Hey, listen, I want to point out to people who don't know, listening around the country, we're coming out of Los Angeles now, and Lester's in New York. Your son is also a news anchor at WNBC in New York. That is an incredible, I think, cool thing.
Yeah, my older son decided to follow me into the television biz. He went to school out there near you at Pepperdine, worked on the radio and TV program, got the bug, and got a job in Florida, and then to Chicago, and then landed in New York and works in the same building with me. So we run into each other in the elevator, in the commissary. It's pretty cool.
So Stefan is his name. Do you critique tapes? Do you look back at air checks with them?
Oh, not anymore. I mean, early on in his career, when he was in Florida, he'd send me air checks, and I'd look at them. And I kind of overdid it at first because I was telling him, don't do this, do that. And then I realized he's making it crazy. Right. Because like as you know, in broadcasting, you just got to do it. Yeah. And you find your rhythm, you find who you are, your personality, and he did that. So the conversations we have are more on navigating ethics issues, some of the office politics issues that come, in every business that I have some insight on, and just trying to give him career advice. But no, he is a professional, talented broadcaster, and he's on his own.
Just think about that. His son is on the affiliate. Okay, so his son is doing the news on the affiliate, of which Lester is top dog. I mean, he is like the number one guy in the whole news division of the network every single night. It's just a cool. I love that. Awesome. I think that's so cool. I wanted to point that out. So Lester, a couple quick things business wise. Now, you've got this special, the COVID-19 Crisis, the Playbook, tomorrow night. It's at 8/7 Central. It's on NBC. What are you exploring in this special?
We're going to explore, back in 2016, a group of White House insiders, experts, got down and decided, let's create a playbook. If there's ever a pandemic, kind of a step-by-step, I liken it to, in case of fire, break glass and pull handle. It was a 69-page document, a playbook. It didn't go into a lot of depth, but it offered guidance on how to timely react to things as they happen. And as we go through this, we got some sensitive White House documents, we got some emails, and comparing what really happened versus what this playbook suggested should happen. And we explore areas where we lost critical time, not only in identifying what this novel virus was so we could begin to prepare testing for it. We got behind on that. We got behind on ordering, masks, N95 masks. The government didn't really issue its first purchase order for these masks until well into March, when this thing was picking up through January.
Lester, I'm thinking about something I read this morning talking about the second wave. Is that something that you'll cover in this? I know you've been following that, and maybe just from your experience doing the news every night. I read that if you look at it like tides, that this first wave was a high tide, and when they're thinking about the second wave, it will be a little different, more like a low tide that will come in. What do you know?
Well, first of all, the Playbook broadcast really deals with what happened in those few months leading up to the height of the crisis. We are, of course, covering what you're talking about on nightly news tonight, and that is this issue that we're beginning to see spikes in over 20 states right now. If you work the clock backwards, it takes you back into Memorial Day, as a lot of states were beginning to open up things, as people were beginning to gather. And that, of course, is continuing. So this is, it's not new. The warnings have not been new. Experts have been saying, look, this thing is not over. Just because New York hit its high and then came down, which we're all thankful for, it doesn't mean that's the experience around the country. So we are seeing this, and there doesn't seem to be a groundswell of support for the idea that maybe we go back under lockdown a bit. That door seems to have been closed. And I think, I think the way you look at it, the American public has kind of decided we're just going to figure out how to live with this thing.
You see that. I was telling Tanya, Sisney, and Patty, who you see on the screen, I took my bike yesterday afternoon late out to the beach here in Los Angeles, and people are out. People are not wearing their masks. I mean, they're out. They should be in LA County, but you just get the sense that they have been in this lockdown for so long. They need to just go be them.
I get it.
And in New York, it's a little more intense because you guys are stacked up. Quick break. I want to come back in a second. Nightly News with Lester Holt, the kids edition. Do you know about this? Hang on for a sec. I know I've fanned on you before, but I'm such a massive fan of you, Lester Holt. And
thank you.
I really feel, I don't know, when I watch you and I get the news from you, I feel good. I feel safe. And I think that's something a lot of us want to feel, right? We need to feel a little bit of that now from a friend, even if we don't know you. You do feel like a friend on the air every day.
That means a lot. Thanks.
Of course. And, I'd like to be friends, but I'm just saying, I feel like you are my friend.
We can hang.
Okay, good. All right, good. That's really why I wanted to have you back on for this segment, for you to say
I live in L.A. part-time, so,
So listen, Lester, the kids edition of Nightly News, tell me about that.
This was born of like so many things, the COVID crisis. As the numbers are beginning to run up, I would do the newscast every day and think, my goodness, this is so heavy, so grim. I know families are watching. A discussion was had with our senior producers who said, why don't we do a kids edition of the program? And so we did one. The feedback was good. We tried. Our initial intent was to deal with the scary nature of COVID, trying to help kids be less fearful with some knowledge, show them what other kids are doing to reach out and to inspire. So we did that, and it's become very successful. And then, of course, we've had the events of the last several weeks, the George Floyd case and the protests. We could not ignore that, so we pivoted to find a way to try to speak to kids, with going into as few of the grim details as possible, to help them speak out about race and understand what the protesters are about. We brought in a child psychologist. So, we'll move along as the news moves along, but I think it's an idea that's time had come.
We had talked to a lot of parents of young children on this show, Lester, over the last couple of weeks since the horrible George Floyd incident, and their young kids, were asking a lot of questions. And the consensus here, I'm interested to hear your take, and it sounds like this is what you're doing. The consensus here from parents was they wanted to try to explain to their kids, as young as they were even asking these questions, what was happening, what was wrong, why it's wrong, and why it's been wrong for a long time. What kind of, were you sending messages in these stories? What were you saying to parents?
We were trying to bring on voices who would kind of explain, what the issues are, that there's some history here, and try to encourage kids to look at that history, which might make this all seem a little bit more understandable. But also, trying to do this in a way that, there's a lot of debate about police, not a way that, kids will suddenly not trust police in any form or fashion. So it's a very, very careful line to walk. But
Sure.
we knew we couldn't ignore it. We forget, kids they're on the internet. If you live here in New York, I could stand out at my window on several nights and watch the marchers go by. So how could you ignore it? So, we felt as a broadcast, we had to deal with it. And we continue to, work at it through different ways. What some kids are doing to foster understanding, trying to answer, some of their questions. It's been a great journey for all of us.
Great stuff. And the Playbook, the COVID-19 crisis special tomorrow night, 8/7 Central NBC. And, of course, Lester on Nightly News, 5 nights a week on NBC. Hey, buddy, thanks for coming on again. Take care of yourself. We look forward to seeing the special.
Thanks. I never leave this room, so just knock.
See you, man. Lester Holt, everybody.